Hi everybody, Charles here. Welcome to Backroads Living. In today's video, we're going to be discussing your comments and your questions over the previous videos that we put up. And one of the big things that has come up in those videos is a topic about a new normal and food shortages. We're going to talk about that in just a minute, but first, a couple of things I wanted to do is, one thing is I wanted to invite you over to our new locals channel. That is a subscription channel basically. There are a few videos on there that are free. It's kind of like a Patreon. It's a channel that if people want to support you as a as a video creator, they can do that, and that's what that's for. Now, let me go ahead and address this while I'm on this. She said that she went over to visit our locals channel, and when she got there, it said that it was a premium video, and she had to pay something to watch it. And she said that because of that, she said, you are not a man of God. And she said also followed that up with the statement that things like this shouldn't be, and that she's from the old school and she's not going to be fooled into this kind of trickery, and just a bunch of foolishness. Listen, guys, it's just like Patreon. If you want to be a part of locals, it's a subscription channel. If you want to contribute to our cause over there, you can. And if you don't, you don't have to. Nobody's twisting your arm. I'm not hiding anything about it. Just like I told you guys when we started this channel, that as soon as we got enough people, subscribers on this channel, and enough watch time hours, we were going to monetize the channel. I don't hide that stuff. That's just, we have to make a living. We've got bills, electric, we've got to buy groceries, we've got to do everything that everybody else does. And this is how we make our living, is online. If that offends you, don't follow the channel. Don't go over there and join the locals. Don't, just don't. But don't sit and accuse me of trying to trick you or trying to deceive you into something. I'm not deceiving anybody in anything. If you join locals, you're going to have to be a subscriber at a whole $5 a month to watch most of the videos over there. It's going to cost you 16 cents a day. I'm robbing you, I know. I'm sorry. It's like a stagecoach holdup and taking you strong box or something. But anyway, that was kind of a pet peeve of mine, that when people accuse me of doing things underhanded or whatever, I don't do things underhanded, and we tell you what's going on here on YouTube, on locals, and wherever I'm at. If you want to know what I'm doing, all you have to do is ask me, and I'll tell you. Okay, so anyway, let's get into the video now. What we're going to talk about today is the new normal and what it consists of. Of course, we can't talk about everything the new normal consists of, but we can talk about a little bit of it. And one of the things that I want to mention as we get into this video and start this video is that if you have debts on your home, or land taxes, whether it's land taxes, whether it's mortgages that are behind, whatever it may be, if there's any way possible that you can catch that up, pay it off, then you're going to be way ahead when this stuff takes place. Because a friend of ours, Bonnie, mentioned in a comment today about years ago how that many people had lost their property to the government, not because they owed mortgages on it. They didn't owe mortgages. They had their mortgages paid off, and they owned the land with a free title, but they got behind on their taxes, and the government took their property because of taxes. Is that right? Not in my opinion, it's not right, but that's just what the government does. So, all the folks that think the government's out there to help you, if they come to take your property away from you because of taxes, you'll find out just how little they are out to help you. But another thing you need to think about is right now, and they have been for the past year or so, is the Federal Reserve have been buying up mortgage notes from the banks for debts. They've loaned money to these banks. They've printed money like candy, and they give money to the banks, and the banks are selling off the house mortgages, property mortgages, business mortgages to the FDA for their debts. So keep that in mind. There's a lot, I mean a lot, of mortgages held by the Federal Reserve right now. And they're really not federal government. The Federal Reserve isn't. It's called federal, but it's not owned by the government. It's the big banker cartel. Anyway, let's get into some of these questions and concerns that folks have mentioned on our channel here. Chains are breaking down. April said chains are breaking down in Ohio. I'm a regular shopper, and the holes I see in 1 week are still holes the next week. And nothing is really being filled. Also, the fast food places I go to are out of things, and they'll tell you even before you order. They blame it on truckers and short supply of drivers. So that could be the case, that there could be a short supply of drivers throughout our country and throughout our nation. I know that there's been a lot of truckers retired, and I know you have to have a CDL to drive a lot of these trucks. And with this pandemic that's went on, there's not been, from what I understood, there's not been classes going on for CDL training. So that would affect filling the holes of those people who have retired. So that could be a possibility in a shortage of drivers. I don't know that for sure, but I, like April, Sandy and I have been in places or have read about places that have been short on things. And I've read also online that some of the main fast food places were low on items, and they blamed it on a shortage of labor, truck drivers. So what do you think? Another person, Lisa, said, I live in Ohio as well, and I'm seeing the same thing happen at stores in my area. So is this a thing going on across the state, or is it kind of condensed in one area? If you live in Ohio and you'd like to give us some feedback on that, we'd love to hear from you and know what's going on. And another thing, that you don't just have to leave comments here on the YouTube channel. You can email us. We have an email listed in the description box below. If things happen around your area that you'd like to send us an email about, and links that you'd like for us to follow up for stories and things like that, be sure and send us an email. We'd love to hear from you guys and love to read your emails. So here's the next one. Jean said, I'm in Idaho. The fields are brown. A spring planted field of oats near here is only 6 inches tall and brown. I received this comment just the other day on a video I put up about grain shortages. It's only been a couple of days ago, and she said that the spring wheat now that's been planted there is only 6 inches tall in Idaho where she lives, and it's all brown. It's not gonna, listen, it's not gonna mature. Too late for that if it's only 6 inches tall. And she said our chicken food has gone up $3 per 40 pounds. That's a pretty good increase. We're selling just enough eggs to buy the feed. So, if you're getting eggs out of it to feed your family, then that's a plus. You take out what you're gonna feed your family, and you would hope that when you're doing these kind of things, if you're trying to sell eggs for a little bit of profit, you need to make something on it for your effort. But right now they're breaking even. A lot of the counties, dry beans are grown in Washington State. I don't know what that's about, but anyway, the spring oats are not going to make it where she lives in Idaho, and that's kind of sad. We mentioned that in the grain shortage video just 2 days ago. If you didn't get to watch that, and go back and check it out. We give maps, we give heat indexes, we show things that are there's just going to be a shortage on a lot of this stuff, and you need to watch that if you haven't. Michelle D from Northwest Nevada said, we have horses and buy our alfalfa directly from the grower. Here again goes back to that video we did a couple of days ago about grain shortage. Go back and watch that. They are harvesting less than 1/2 of what they normally do. Now this is in Northwest Nevada. The growers have told Michelle, that they're only harvesting half of what they normally harvest. Our alfalfa has gone up dramatically in price, and there is a change. We will not be able to get any during the winter at all. So how do you feed your livestock? Well, she follows up and says people are talking about having to put down horses so they don't starve. They can't sell them. Who are you going to sell a horse to if they can't get food to feed it? You say, well, and that's the first thing people say. Well, if you can't feed them, you need to sell them. Well, and I agree with that 100%. But when you go out here to sell them, and if you can't get food to feed them, the people you're trying to sell them to can't get food to feed them. So what do? You know, they're talking about putting their horses down to do the humane thing and not let them starve to death. The grass hay is worse shape, and they are already out of grass in our area. So hay's already gone, the hay fields, and now the alfalfa is going to be about half harvest of what they normally get. So it's really going to take a toll on people. Northwest Nevada, thank you, Michelle, for that update. We appreciate it. And again, folks, don't forget to send us your emails if you'd like to. If you enjoy our videos, also give us a thumbs up. If you haven't done that, do that now. It don't take just a second to click that button. Subscribe to our channel and click that bell icon when it appears to be notified of new videos as we upload. We appreciate your comments and thoughts, and we like to go back over them and read them and share them with each other and gather more thoughts from you. We love to hear what you folks have to say. Many of you are very knowledgeable in areas that we are not, and it really helps us. Now, Be Frugal, Be Free and Be Frugal is from the UK. And they said, I'm in the UK. The shelves have been really empty here for weeks, getting gradually worse, although not quite as bad the last few days. It's being reported the army are being prepared to try to bring in food from distribution warehouses to supermarkets. Now, if you remember, in the UK, they were having the Pingdemic. And what they were doing, they were putting people in quarantine because they had been to a store or an event or something like that somebody else there had tested positive. And they were texting them on their phones and saying, hey, 3 days ago, you was over here at the supermarket, and somebody else that was at the supermarket at that same time tested positive, so you're going to have to self-quarantine for 10 days. So the folks over there are having to use their smartphones and register when they go into a market or to an event or something like that, so the government knows where they've been. And then when any of those people test positive, they have to report it, or supposed to report it, to the government. And when they do that, then they know who all has been around them at that given time. And that puts everybody in in my opinion, in a very bad situation, because it puts these people under quarantine for 10 days that are supermarket workers, that are truck drivers, that are stock people in the supermarkets and businesses and things like that. And it really creates a worker shortage in the UK, and causes problems. And then Be Frugal sent an update the next day and said, many thanks for your best wishes. An update. The shelves have more produce as of yesterday, but I think it's a false flag. And here's why. I bought bread, flour. I use one and have 2 to spare. I need to replace the one I've opened. I went to the same place and bought the same one. It was dated the same as the one I had bought a couple of months ago. Think about that just a second. 2 months passed, and the flour she bought has the same date as the one that she bought 2 months ago. So I think they're using up what they have, but no new stock coming through. That's kind of what that sounds like to me. Just check when you're shopping in the US, look at the dates, and if you compare with previous buys, is it new? I'd be interested to know. Best wishes to you. I would too. So if you don't mind, take a few minutes and go to your pantry and look at the produce you bought last, where there would be the flour or the peanut butter or whatever it may be, and remember some of those dates. And then when you go back and buy more of it, compare those dates to what you bought a couple of months back. I would think after a couple of months the dates should change, but we'll find out here. Some of you will follow up on that and let us know, I'm sure. Okay, AG Coast to Coast says, we have been stockpiling food. Our town is a food desert. Guys, listen, we hear a lot of this stuff in our comments about food being short on shelves and stock being, stores being out of stock and stuff like that of particular foods and things that they're not expecting to get back in. It's just like that shredded beef and gravy that we talked about in one of our previous videos that we bought for years at Save-A-Lot, and then they run out of it in our local Save-A-Lot, and they haven't had it there in a year. We found it in an out-of-town Save-A-Lot, found one flat of it, and we bought that flat, and then we went back here the other day to see if we could get more, and they didn't have any. And when I asked the manager about it, he said the pandemic had caused them to run out, and they didn't know when they'd get any back in. He said it was just real sparse, and they didn't really expect to get any. So, you're talking about beef there. We've been talking about here a couple of videos back also. We posted about how that, actually just a day ago, I think, that we posted a video about how that this drought is affecting beef production in the United States and in Mexico. We're going to lose half of the beef that we get from Mexico. We're going to lose that this year because of the drought down there of dying cattle. They're not going to have the poundage to send us this year. So, and that's going to happen in the United States. We just heard right here in northeast Nevada, I think it was, where she said that people was talking about putting their horses down because they can't get hay and alfalfa to feed them through the winter. So what's that mean about the cattle and the sheep and all the other kind of livestock that people depend on to feed themselves through the winter? So yeah, there's a lot going on. We need to keep an eye on it. He said it's a food desert. All we have is a Family Dollar. The shelves are bare. The manager said they get whatever's on that truck. Family Dollar is the only store we have. The closest market is 17 miles away. Our market closed about 9 years ago. Luckily, we have people in town with chickens and gardens. Everyone here has a garden. If you don't, you will starve. Listen to that, because it's going to come to that in the future, I think. I think we're coming into unprecedented times, and this is just my opinion. I think in the future, it's going to be that if you don't have a garden and you don't raise your own food and your own chickens and things like that, you're going to go hungry, or you'll have to barter for all that. And I don't know how long how much stuff can you put back to barter with? A lot of things you can use to barter. We talk about putting back things to barter with, but you can only barter for so long till you run out if you don't have your own stuff. But anyway, let's keep it going. Here in Britain, Abigail said, here in Britain, the army's on standby for delivering food to pack the shelves in the stores because of the pandemic. Blessings from Scotland. So here we are in Scotland. They're having to mobilize the military to stock shelves because of a lack of workers because of the Pingdemic. Guys, this thing's just gotten way out of hand. It just has. I welcome your comments on it, but this stuff's just gone way out of hand. There's just too much going on around the country and around the world. These are just not good things. These are not normal things, but they are wanting this. The governments of the world are wanting this to be the new normal. And that's what I asked at the start of this. Is this going to be the new normal? Or food shortage is going to be the new normal? Is this something that we're going to have to gradually learn to deal with and learn how to overcome? Guys, it's going to be a time and a place here very shortly, I think. Hopefully not within the next few months or anything, but that if people don't grow gardens and grow their own livestock and raise chickens and can and do things like that, that you're going to find really, really difficult times to put food on your table. So keep that in mind. Put back everything you can right now. If you have extra money, I say this all the time and I want to keep saying it. If you have extra money when you go to the grocery, or when you go to the city, if you're not going to the grocery, if you're going to the courthouse, or you're going to one of the big box stores, or you're going to the doctor, or you're going wherever you're going, and you go to the city or the town, then go buy a grocery store if you've got extra money and pick up some cans of food. canned food will last, just listen, it lasts forever if it doesn't have certain products in it, and we're going to talk about that probably in another video. I don't remember if I have it listed in this one or not, but if not, I'll bring it up in the next video. But anyway, canned produce, buy those shelf-stable foods, and get beans and rice and pastas and things like that for your calories and protein. So keep that in mind, guys. You got to have this stuff. You need sugar put back and salt put back. You need these things that's going to help you make it through hard times. These things can be stretched out a long way when you put them together. Let's see. Lunar said, I was shocked when you said most people only have enough food for 3 days. I don't have a large pantry or anything, but my family has enough food stocked away for at least 3 weeks. Now, here's the problem with that. And I've read this more than one time, that the average American right now has only got about 3 days worth of food put back in their pantry. And what that means is that if you had an emergency where you could not leave the house and you had to feed your family, and it's a family of 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever it may be, the average American can only do that for 3 days and feed them the way they should. So we see here that these folks said they've got enough food put back for 3 weeks. Well, if you had a ice storm come in, and I'm not talking about a government shutdown now, I'm talking about an ice storm. If you had an ice storm come in like we had a few years ago that went up the coast, you might not make it out the other end of it for 3 weeks worth of food. I mean, that's a decent backstock against an emergency. But you know, what if you have an emergency? What if you get laid off of work? What if you get hurt and you can't work? What if like I said, what if an ice storm? What if a tornado? What if the fires like that in California? What if? Is 3 weeks worth of food going to do you? We need to have way more than that. That's a good start, but we need to have way more than 3 weeks worth of food. Kentucky Girl says everyone should stock coffee, even if you don't drink it. It makes a great barter item, and I agree with that. People who love coffee or are addicted to coffee will swap and trade for coffee. People need their cup of joe for a morale booster. Stock whatever you can afford, and like you said, everyone should be stocking something. God bless. I also wanted to add, if you cannot find canned pet food, and here's a real good tip: if you can't find canned pet food and you've got pets, plain canned chicken might be an option. It'll cost a little bit more, but you can buy that and you can mix grains in with it and make your own pet food at home and make these things stretch out. There's ways to do that. If you need to find out how, get online and read up on how to make your own pet food. Lots of people do that, and make it very healthy. Jessica says, I've been having dreams about meat shortages, where the stores are fully stocked of fresh fruit and vegetables, but the meat is gone, or the price is so high only the rich can afford to eat meat and eggs. Now, here again, we've been talking about these droughts and these wildfires, and not just here in the United States, but around the world, and how that it's affecting meat. And we remember how the supply chains and the food processing plants back in early summer, we had outages there, and that affects meat prices. And if we destroy enough of our meat produce, it may become a point that meat becomes a delicacy instead of just part of a meal. And so, Jessica, you may be right. We may see that in the very near future. Persons of Earth said, you're right, brother. Here in Australia we here in Australia have gone through hell. The first lockdown in Melbourne lasted 5 months with curfews, and we are now in lockdown. Now listen to this. The first one lasted 5 months, the first lockdown, and we are now in lockdown number 5. They've had 5 lockdowns in Australia. I haven't noticed food shortages here in the same way that America has experienced it, but I know that it's coming. We see it coming. So prep. We have other friends in Australia who's saying the same thing. Prep, prep, prep. It's coming. They see it on the horizon, folks. And this is something that I want to bring up, because these things that happen around the world can happen here just as easily. Now, you remember the explosion in Beirut a few months ago in Lebanon, and this is the Prime Minister of Lebanon speaking here. He said, "I set out to combat corruption, but I discovered that corruption is bigger than the state. It's too large to fight. It's become so large." And the scripture teaches us, Jesus said, "As it was in the days of Noah, so shall it also be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man." That corruption ran wild, that men's hearts were wicked continually. And we're getting into that place right now. The leaders of all the worlds, the governments of all the worlds, their hearts are wicked continually. They're continually punishing their people for nothing. He said, "I declare today the resignation of this government. God bless." So let's finish this up. "There have also been fights in supermarkets." This is Lebanon still yet. "Fights in supermarkets as people try to buy bread, sugar, oil, and other goods before they run out. With inflation at 400%. This is what hyperinflation does. Lebanon is under hyperinflation right now. With inflation 400%, the report said murder rates and other crimes are also rapidly rising. This is another thing that you have to look at when you have food shortages and hyperinflation. When people start running low on food, they start getting out of food, they will become violent in order to fill their bellies and to fill the bellies of their children and their family. So keep that in mind. You've got to have a way to protect what you own in all circumstances. It says not only do we have an absence of government and a political vacuum, but we're going to have a severe problem with the function of the state of Lebanon. Lebanese American University political scientists told the Wall Street Journal, "We are heading toward the unknown." Well, I think that's what we're doing here in America. I think we're heading toward the unknown. What is the new normal? Does any of us really know? Can any of us really foresee or tell what the new normal is other than the hints that we get? Well, I think the new normal will see lockdowns. I think the new normal will be food shortages, shortages of medication, and now that we did a video a couple of days about how that the FDA is going to be regulating vitamins now that this new bill's been passed. This new infrastructure bill has passed, and that bill for the FDA to regulate vitamins was in that, so that's going to push the price of vitamins so high you can't afford them, or either shut manufacturers of vitamins down, some of them, and we're going to see a lot of things. The new normal is not going to look anything like what it used to be here in America, folks. So, as I always say, prep, prep, prep. It's time to get your house in order. Get your house in order. First house to get in order is your spiritual house. We all need to come to know the Lord Jesus Christ as Savior if we don't. Second thing you need to do is to keep your pantry prepped. Don't just prep it for a little while and let it run back down and run out. Keep it prepped. Fill in those blank spots. Fill in those spaces that you need extra stuff in. Be sure to always purchase something. And as we always say, we love you guys. We appreciate you. And we're so thankful that you're a part of our channel. Man, the Lord has blessed us so wonderfully with y'all. So thank you all again for watching. And we hope to see you in the next video. Until then, we'll see you in the next video.